she's gonna need translation, so she's gonna need translation. So just give her the gist. Give her just a little, kind of a little background while we're talking. Okay.
Whispering, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
She's a translator, so so just kind of the main idea. Okay.
Yes,
So
I got it.
she'll be explaining it to you. Okay.
Я вам буду чуть-чуть нашептывать основную идею, без подробностей.
Ну, да, дословно-то не надо переводить, я, в принципе, понимаю, о чем.
So no, don't need it.
Don't actually need it, but it will be good if the main idea will be whispered. So
Yes.
it's
So we all agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you.
So we stopped at the point.
Just start over again.
Yes, with the Bossy magazine. Okay, so again, when did you first start thinking about the differences between Americans and Russians? Were you inspired by a book or a movie?
When I was 12 years old, I was inspired by a magazine I was reading, and it was in Idaho. And in Idaho, in Idaho, I was sitting down I was laying down on the couch, or on the floor. I was laying down on the floor, and on the floor, as I was laying down on the floor, I was reading a magazine, and this magazine was a glossy magazine, and on one side was the Soviet Union, with all of the tanks and all of the missiles and all of the rockets. And then on the other side was Europe and America. And it was blue tanks and blue missiles and blue soldiers. And I looked at that and I was thinking, oh my God, I could die at any time. And I was so scared of the Soviet Union. That was the first day that I was inspired. That was what I remember when I was first inspired about the Soviet Union.
Okay. See. So you meant that this glossy magazine with this confronting picture actually inspired you. Then, could you please tell our readers the main idea of your theory, as it is really unique? I haven't met something like that before. And why did you choose fruit symbols for the two types of cultures? This is, so far, it's a mystery for me.
I would love to take credit for this idea. It's actually not my idea. 20 years ago, someone actually came up with this idea. But the peach, the idea of a peach is that Americans are very soft on the outside, and they are very hard on the inside. And just like Brazilians, they're also soft on the outside, but hard on the inside. And why is that? It's because they're very friendly, they're very happy, they're easy to get to know, but their relationships are not strong. What happens is that you try to get close to them, like really deeply close, and have a lifelong friendship, and it's very difficult. And that was a problem for me in America because I felt lonely. I wanted deeper friendships. And in Russia, it's different. In Russia, it's like a coconut. There's a hard center, there's a hard outside, a hard shell, and then there's a warm, nice inside. And so if you can get past the hard outside, you can have a beautiful, soft, warm inside, and you'll have lifelong friendships. And these relationships will be for the rest of your life. No matter what happens in that person's life, they will always be there for you. So once you penetrate that outer shell, then you have lifelong friendships. And I never really connected with people in America. I never really felt close to people in America. I felt like an alien in my own life. And in my own homeland, I felt like an alien. And so I yearned for something more. And when the wall fell down, in 1989, when the wall fell down in Berlin, something happened inside of me.
Понятно, я ухватила тему. All right, and my next question actually is very interesting for me personally. While reading a summary of your theory, I noticed that Americans and Brazilians were put into the same group called Peach. Why? Are these mentalities similar in your opinion? Because I was a bit surprised by that fact.
So when countries, they are very much the same. When they're homogenous, with the same race and very few immigrants, like Russia, they're coconuts. So, for example, you have Germany and France. They're also coconuts. And what happens is that these countries 400 years ago were pretty much all the same. They were all white. And what happened is that countries like Brazil and also America, they were all different colors. There were white people, there were black people, there were brown people 400 years ago. And what that does is that that mixture of people, what happens is that when you meet somebody new, you're not quite sure who they are. You're not quite sure. You don't know them, the people. It may be a black person. It may be an Asian person. It may be a Mexican. And you're not quite sure if they're friendly or they're unfriendly. And in America, there's all these different colors of people. But in the Soviet Union, or rather in Russia historically, there was just one group of people. They were all white. And so what happened is that they all knew each other. And so they didn't have to smile when they saw strangers because everybody knew everybody else.
Okay, very interesting, and I'm sure that there is a solid background under your theory. And when have you introduced your ideas? So when have you introduced your ideas to public already? Are you planning to write a book or a big article on that topic?
That's a really good question. On January 21st, in a few days, I'm going to be on REN television discussing the differences between Russians and Americans.
Excuse me, Travis, on January 21st.
January 21st.
Января 21 года. Sorry, do you have a pen? Excuse me. I need a pen. January 21st. So you will be on television, right? Russian national television.
On Russian national television, that's correct.
ORT, first channel, first TV channel, or what TV channel?
It's Red Television.
REM TV. Okay. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Oh, the next question, please.
Okay. Have you ever met a Russian or an American who was a mix of the two culture types? And if so, what was the reason behind that? Why was this person a kind of hybrid?
That's a really good question, and it's something that I address in my upcoming book. It'll be my third book on this time. It'll be on sociology, and it's going to cover all these questions that we had. I've definitely met hybrids. In fact, this weekend I met Anna, and she was a hybrid Russian-American. And she didn't fit into either culture. She was an alien in both cultures. And they're incredible people because you're never quite sure how they act, and you're never quite sure what to expect from them, because they pick up the strange differences in both cultures.
I see. Very interesting, because this is just my remark. I also have a kind of acquaintances that moved to the USA or to Great Britain at a mature age, not as children. Of course, first they had strong linguistic problems, very severe problems to adapt into the society. But at the moment, they are actually still Russians. They are not British, they are not Americans, but absolutely Russian, although they already have citizenship of another country.
Я прошу прощения, питу с курицей сейчас не могут сделать.
Ничего страшного, я попозже закажу. Попозже
Хорошо.
закажу. Что с ней такое случилось? Нет какого-то ингредиента, наверное.
Alright, this is the interesting remark. Russians who moved to America as adults retain the worst aspects of Russian society and become the worst of American society.
Yeah, let me go ahead and repeat that. Russians, I actually felt that way until I met Anna this weekend, so things have changed. But, so Russians, when they moved to America, they retain the worst of Russia, and then they also pick up the worst of America. And there's a couple of examples of that. For example,
Давай сейчас, не надо, если что, я вам сделаю звук. Да. Если
excuse me. So, before this last weekend, today it's January 5th, 2020. Before this weekend, when I met a wonderful Anna, I thought that all Russians that went to America, they retained the worst of Russia, and then they also retained the worst of America, and then and so let me give you some examples. For example, Russians tend to cheat more than Americans. Russians are very sneaky. Americans are very feminist, and they only think about themselves. And so Russians go to America and they act like both cultures the worst.
And my final question is a bit personal. I'm sorry for that. Travis, do you feel yourself to be a peach or a coconut? After living here for some time.
It's a really good question.
Yes.
I think that there's a saying in English, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Last night I met another hybrid, and his name was Travis also. And his name was exactly like mine. He'd been here since 2004, and he was the strangest man I'd ever met in my entire life. Because he had these he was just very different, and you couldn't figure out where he was from. And he spoke like an American, but he had a lot of habits of a Russian. Like, for example, he sees prostitutes a lot as a Russian, all the time, and yet he knows all the slang of Americans. And so he was very anti-American, but he was also pro-Russian. And he was also anti-Russian and pro-American. So you're not quite sure what he is and what he stands for. And you ask him a question and he talks for 20 minutes on the question. And he knew everything about history of two countries. He was amazing. So he was an American that was never born in Russia, but he'd been here since 2004. And his name is also Travis. So, yes, I really appreciate your time, Irina. I really appreciate your time, Lisa. Thank you so much for coming here today. And it's January 5th, 2020. And internationally, the United States is the most violent country in the world. I'm here to subvert the United States. And I'm going to do that by creating a think tank, which we already have, called Open World. It's the first step. And we are then going to work potentially for another think tank that's actually government sponsored.
I remember